Hi, I'm Jordan Long, and today I'm going to talk about today I'm going to talk about, you know, how this happens. Now, this isn't nothing bad, but this is how it happens. So, Sailor Moon always does her films before I do, and they usually take a little longer than mine. Now, this wasn't always true. In the early days, starting from at least in the early days, I would always start my films later. But then I started doing my film right after Sailor Moon's film. Why? I don't know. It was just a routine I put together. See, we used to go to McKeesport's Stead. And then we used to do two films together so we get them out of the way. So then we could go, wash up and do whatever else we had to do. So that was the routine. And sometimes Sailor Moon films go a little more longer than they need to go. Not to say that my films haven't gone long either, but they have. So I came across, Jordan says when this is how it goes like. All right. Now, some folks out there might not know. I don't know who they are, and maybe that's my fault since I don't really watch UFC or any kind of fighting business, and someone out there might know who these fighters are. Now, I know that some folks will say, what do you mean you don't watch it? I'm just not into it. I mean, some folks are into fighting, and that's good for them, but I was never into it. It's like some folks are into the NFL, some folks are into football. I was just never into it. So I don't know who they are. So it'll be like something like this. Well, you mean you don't know who I am? No, I do not know. And sadly, all you UFC fighters look alike. I mean, you all dressed alike. You all got the same, all the same shorts on. It says UFC on it, and then after that, whatever else is on it. Well, don't you know this is the wear that all UFC fighters wear? Geez, we go back to 1993. Yeah, I just never was into that sort of thing. I mean, forgive me and all, but I was just never into UFC or fighting as it was. You know, and it's the truth. I was never into that. I mean, yes, there are folks who are into fighting, and that's good for them. But I was never into it. I was more into wrestling. And I know there are some folks out there who think, oh, well, how can you like wrestling since it's booked and written? And the wrestlers learn how to wrestle so they're not truly harming each other. Well, if you truly like fights where men and women are truly harming each other, or can truly harm each other, then good for you. I mean, all strength to you, you know. Now, there's a lot of folks out there in this world who believe that the only way UFC ever got big was getting their Spike TV deal. Well, I think they were working up to that. I think that they were they were making themselves big. And I think at that point, they were still small. I mean, let's keep in mind, they weren't really that name known at that point, and they still weren't, they were still still fighting to get themselves over as the big fighting business out there. Now apparently they are big now, all right? They're more bigger than WWE is, but WWE is in wrestling and UFC is in fighting, so they're two unlike things. So you can't really, say that much. And the NFL is football. The NFL is always going to be the biggest sporting business out there, when it comes to that. But it's always going to be usually one of the two things usually ends up happening in these fights. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't know. But usually it's always going to be a beatdown of some kind or a give up. And I get that. In fighting, that's mostly what it is. Yeah. You don't know me? No, I do not know you. And why is it almost all the fights end with a beatdown or some kind of give up? I mean, can there be like a 1, 2, 3 or something? Or is that not in the oversight? No, that's not in the oversight, you know. In UFC, it's either a beatdown or a give up, and then it's up to the fight lords to make the pick. I get there's a fight lord, true. Then there's a fighting team of overseers that has to make the pick who won the fight, pertaining to what kind of holds they did and how much harm they did and all this other stuff that I truly don't understand it. Well, some folks don't understand it. You know, some folks don't get it, and that's all right. And I know there's going to be some folks out here that might know the names of these lords. You know, these fighters, these UFC fighters. You know, and they might know them. They might still be fighting in UFC. I don't know. But the truth is, I just happened to see them at the American Thrift Center and happened to get them yesterday. You know, so I don't know who they are. You know, I know some fun fighters like Ken Shamrock and Daniel Puder and Tank Abbott and Dan Cedrin and Brock Lesnar and King Polaxev and Rampage Jackson, just to name some of them. But to say that these are who these are, they're not. I don't know who these are. You know, it's the truth. I don't know. I don't know these folks, these lords. And some folks actually think that UFC has hit the glass ceiling, and maybe it has, because I don't think it can go any more bigger than it is. I mean, the NFL's up here, right? If WWE's down here, then the NFL's up here. But at the end of the day, I'm not really into UFC, not really into fighting. But if you are, that's good. You know, maybe you can tell me who these fighters are, and if they had any winnings they had, and if they're still fighting or not. I just told you a list of former fighters that I know of who were UFC fighters, or if they were not UFC fighters, they were in other fighting businesses. Anyway, well, you know, Jordan, we just want to say that UFC might not be for everyone, but there are those out there like it. There are those out there that get some liking out of it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you like UFC and fighting, that's good for you. I mean, nothing wrong with it. If you're into it, that's good. But I was never into it, you know? And I was never into UFC or fighting or anything like that, you know? So, and yeah, that's good and all. So what is it with all you UFC fighters not wearing shoes? I mean, aren't you frightened that some of your fighters are going to step on your feet or something? Or maybe it's to help you do the kicking. Yeah, helps you kicking, I guess. More good if you don't have any footwear on. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, you know? So, well, that's my film with UFC fighters or former UFC fighters. I don't know what it is. So maybe you folks can tell me who these are. Because on the names you don't know. I don't know them. Maybe you folks know who they are. You know, maybe they're still fighting, maybe they're still not fighting. I don't know. But all I know is they were UFC fighter dolls that I got, and it is what it is. Okay, that's it. I'm Jordan Long, and I'll see you later.